Hey guys, it's Morgan from Highland Cycles. So if you've watched our other video about finding out what was inside Daisy here, then you know I overheated it, blew it up, and anyway. So if you haven't checked that out, go check it out. I'll put a link in the description here. But today I'm going to be going over what it takes to put the power valve back into the cylinder. So what it takes to take that pile of stuff and make a working cylinder out of it. So here we go. All right, so to start with this thing, we're going to put the flapper in first, and then put the intermediate flange, is what this is called, on next, and then we'll slide the stuff in from the sides. So I cleaned this up pretty good. I didn't go crazy with it because it actually wasn't that bad. There's still some carbon left on it. Honestly, my sandblaster was buried, and this is my personal bike, and I'm just going to show that honestly you don't have to make it perfect. So we're going to take this flapper and we're going to put it in. Now the deal is it's got these two grooves, right? So O-rings go there, and I like to use Athena gasket kits. They're really good. They come with everything. They even come with the crush washers for the cylinder head bolts. They come with all the O-rings. They even come with the little guy for your spark plug. So that's pretty cool. So let's get in here, open up this, and now dump all this out. Now the thing is, I like to organize this so that you know where everything goes, right? So you don't put a wrong O-ring in the wrong place. There's going to be 4 fat O-rings. Those go here in that world. So you can set those there for now so you don't lose them. Then these are clearly the exhaust O-rings. So we'll set those aside. We got head O-rings. They always send an extra middle one and or a smaller one, and I'm not sure exactly why, but there seems to be always 3. So we don't need those yet. Like I said, it comes this cool. It comes with the thing for your spark plug. We don't need that yet. So now we're left with these. This guy is clearly too big for these grooves, so I'll put him over there. Now we've got this left. Okay, so if you're looking at this and you're not like, I don't know, I'm kind of confused, okay? The only other part of this bike that takes a small O-ring are these little side parts of the power valve, right? And these are bigger around than these. So if we're looking at here, these two are smaller than these two. So it looks like these are going to go there, and these are going to go on the other part of the power valve. This is actually, I think, an extra one of these. So now I put these on. There we go. Now I like to use this there we go, Redline assembly lube on all this stuff. It works really good. So we're going to put some on here, because the next thing to do is we're taking these, make sure that moves. There we go. Now we're going to take this, I'm going to drop it right in here. Let me show you. If you look, these go in a little groove. So do like that. Make sure that one's in its home. And then you can move this. Make sure you see it pivots on this. That's why I put the assembly lube on there, to make sure that stays nice and nice and lubed up as we assemble, right? There we go. Now, while we're at it, we might as well go ahead and put these on here so we don't lose them. There we go. All right. Make sure that's all right where it needs to be. Now, next is an intermediate flange. This does not have a gasket. What you're going to use is, I like to use this stuff, the 3-bond 1184. It's the same as the Yamaha bond or the Honda bond or anything like that. It's a good, really, really good gasket maker. Really good liquid gasket. So now comes the art part. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay a bead of this. And the thing is, see how that's not sticking? There's a problem there. So probably what it is this is still oily. So we need to clean that off. Get some good brake parts cleaner on that. Nice dry rag. Brush gasket maker, come here. You should see how it sticks. That's good. That's what you want. Come around here. One of the keys to this kind of gasket maker is that once you get that on there, you want to let it sit. Also, I like to come back in here and see how some got in there. Need to wipe that out. Now, we're going to let that sit for about 5-10 minutes and let it kind of tack up, and then we're going to install it. It's time to put this on. What you want to do is come down here, make sure everything's lined up, set that down. And the key to putting anything like this together is that you don't force it. You don't force it down. And what you want to do is kind of check around, make sure that it's nice and tight everywhere. It's not going to be perfectly tight because of those O-rings, but it should come down pretty tight, so feel good about that. Now, we're going to take our bolts. You can see it squeezing out right here. That's a good thing. That means you're getting a nice good seal. Now, the torque spec on these is probably something like 8 foot-pounds or something like that. I just make sure they're nice and tight. The thing about these side parts of the power valve is they're not the same, right? They are not actually identical. They can't just put them in willy-nilly. But the cool thing is KTM in the last few years, I don't know exactly when it started, they finally started putting, if you look right there, you can see there's a little L right there. So that stands for left, and that's left as you're sitting on the bike. So this is the exhaust. It goes forward. This is left. We're going to start over here. So one thing before you assemble all this, you want to make sure that flapper is moving nice and easy. And to show you, I got a pair of channel locks, but I'm not going to squeeze real hard. You can see it's moving super duper easy, and that's good. I can actually move it with my fingers. You just can't see that close. So, but you can hear it moving. So you want that down. L goes in over here. I'm going to put some assembly lube. Make sure everything's moving smoothly like it's supposed to. Drop that in. Doesn't really matter where it is right now, but eventually the little teeth are going to go backwards, like towards the back of the bike. So, but right now it doesn't really matter quite yet. Okay, now once you've got your side thing in here, you got to put the retainer in here to keep it from wanting to slide out. So these are the retainers, and they're shaped, they can only really go on one side or the other. So you drop that down in there, make sure it fits. Okay, it does. Then we're going to take our little torque screws, and what we're going to do is we're going to put some blue thread locker on there. And when you're putting thread locker on stuff, you really want to make sure that the bolt is dry and doesn't have any oil, and that the threads that it's going to is dry and doesn't have any oil on it. Otherwise, the thread locker really doesn't do anything. So I've cleaned these guys. You don't have to go crazy. That may be actually a little bit much. It's not a big deal if you do too much, but you don't need that much. I'll put it in there, and we're just going to get started. There we go. And these, as you can see, they're tapered, and so are the holes that they go in. That helps line everything up and center everything. There we go. Now on these, you just want to be careful. Again, I'm sure there's a torque spec. It's probably like 5 or 6 foot-pounds because it's a small bolt. But with a 1/4-inch ratchet like this, you're probably not going to have a problem. As also, just be careful. You know, you want to just get it nice and tight. Again, that thread locker is going to help with the fact that you don't have to go crazy on it. There we go. All right. Now, we're going to take our, whatever this thing's called, the actuator maybe. I'm going to put it on here. Like I said, you want to make sure that this top little tooth goes into this top notch when the whole thing is all the way down. So there we go. I'm going to take our Allen bolt. Again, I use blue on these. I like to make sure pretty much everything inside of a motor, I make sure it's got Loctite on it, because I would rather it be really hard to come apart later than come apart while it's running. So, go down nice and tight. Let's see, moving good. That's a good sign right there. Now we're gonna come over to the right. Take our right guy, lube him up, drop him in with the teeth facing backwards. Then got our retainer. Put it in. Get our little bolts. And when I'm starting these things, just go nice and easy. You notice I'm not starting them by hand because they're just too far down in there and too small. All right, so now this side is different, right? This side's a little different. It's got the actual actuator section on it, but it's also a little bit the same. So you still want the top tooth to go into that top notch. There we go. Now, the difference is you've got this guy and a few other parts that have to go on here. So, here's the order, okay? We got that on. Now, this collar goes next. Then this guy with the little nubbin that the actual actuator hooks onto. Like that. Then we have this aluminum collar and we have a spring. Got the bolt down in the collar. Then you got this spring. You want the long end of it down and on the bottom, and the little short end going up. So you put this in there. Then we're going to put a little Loctite on the bolt while we're out here because we're going to start it. Then we're going to take it and we're going to go in here like that. Get it just barely in its hole. Then as we're sitting here, you can see the big end is going to be on top of this nub, and then this little end, you want it over and on the bottom of this bottom nub. There's a groove. If you look right in here, I don't know if you can see it. There's a groove that this long spring goes in. It's not this bigger groove like where my thumbnail is now. It's on the inside of that. Go there. Then we're going to take our screwdriver. We're going to come up over and get that on there. See, now it's on where it needs to be. Now we're going to run our bolt in, and you want to be careful as you run this in. You can pinch that spring where it's not supposed to be. So you want to make sure everything's going together like it should. And there, it's tightened up. All right. Now it's operating like it should. Now you'll know that you have this whole spring thing right if you hold back on this and you push up and it wants to come down. Like, so the idea of the spring is that as the actuator pushes up, if it pushes really fast, it's got some give in it, right? So it takes a little bit before that comes up. But as you come down, it's positive on the way down. So there we go. Now we got all that together. Everything's working good. See that flapper doing its thing. And then it's kind of hard to tell on this camera, but if you look inside here and off to the side, when you push up, you should see those the little rotatey side ones open up and let air, let passes through. You'll know you have them right if that's working. Sweet. Thanks, guys. Hope that was informative. Hope that helps you guys if you ever have to put a power valve back together on a KTM at least. All the other brands are different, but on a KTM 2-stroke, they all work like that. Even the older ones are kind of like that. The 125s, the smaller bikes, the 200s, 125s, they actually have a different system. But all the 250s and 300s are like this. It's super simple. It's actually a lot easier to deal with than like the Japanese stuff. The YZ ones are a little bit tough to get all in there. It's not hard, but it's just tedious, and there's lots of little pieces. So I hope that helps, guys. Stick with us. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and get the notification bell clicked, because we're going to be putting this onto that right there here really soon. So, and then we're going to fire it up and take it for a test ride, see if the overheating I did any other damage. I don't think it did, but yeah, stick with us, guys. Hope that helps you. Get out, spread the gospel of two wheels, spread love, joy, and happiness in the world, and really, really, please, please, please find some time to ride your dirt bikes.